Welcome to the fourth part of the Lighthouse at World's End. If you haven't watched the previous parts, please do so before moving on. Now, let's get started. When he finally reached the top, Finn found himself standing before the lighthouse's entrance, a massive iron door that seemed to have been forged from the very stars themselves. The door was slightly ajar, and a faint light spilled out from within, casting a golden glow on the stone steps.
He hesitated for a moment, his hand hovering over the door handle. He knew that once he crossed this threshold, there would be no turning back. But he had come this far, and he couldn't stop now. With a deep breath, Finn pushed the door open and stepped inside.
The interior of the lighthouse was unlike anything Finn had ever seen. The walls were lined with ancient gears and pulleys, all intricately connected in a complex web of machinery that seemed to stretch on forever. The air was thick with the smell of oil and metal, and the sound of the gears turning filled the space with a constant rhythmic hum.
But it was the light at the center of the room that drew his attention. It was a golden flame, burning with an intensity that made it impossible to look at directly. The flame was suspended in midair, encased in a crystal chamber that seemed to pulse with energy. As Finn approached the flame, he felt a strange sensation, as if the light were reaching out to him, drawing him in. He could feel its warmth on his skin, its power resonating deep within him.
And then, as he reached out to touch the crystal chamber, a voice echoed through the room.
"You shouldn't have come here."
Finn froze, his hand hovering over the crystal. He turned slowly, his heart racing to see a figure emerging from the shadows. It was a man, tall and imposing, with eyes that glowed like twin stars in the darkness. The man stepped into the light, and Finn felt a jolt of recognition. It was Callum, the keeper of the lighthouse, the man who had been a legend in the village for as long as Finn could remember. But there was something different about him, something that made Finn's skin crawl. Callum's eyes were cold and distant, as if he were looking through Finn rather than at him.
"You shouldn't have come here. This place is not meant for the living."
I had to see the light. I had to know if the stories were true.
Callum's expression softened slightly, and for a moment, Finn thought he saw a flicker of the man Callum once was.
"The light is real, but it comes at a great cost, a cost you cannot begin to understand."
What do you mean?
Callum turned his gaze to the golden flame, his eyes filled with a deep, unending weariness. "The light is a beacon, a guide for those who are lost, but it is also a prison, a trap for those who seek to control it. I am bound to this lighthouse, to this light, for all eternity. My soul is no longer my own."
Finn took a step back, the weight of Callum's words sinking in.
But why? Why are you bound to the light?
Callum's eyes met Finn's, and in that moment, Finn saw the truth. The light was not just a beacon, it was a force, a power beyond comprehension. It was the last remnant of an ancient magic, a magic that had been sealed away at the edge of the world to protect the rest of existence from its influence. The lighthouse was its prison, and Callum was its guardian, the one who had been chosen to keep the light from falling into the wrong hands. Finn felt a surge of fear and awe as he realized the enormity of what he had stumbled upon. The lighthouse at World's End was not just a place, it was the final barrier between the world he knew and something far darker and more dangerous.
Callum took a step toward Finn, his expression grave. "You must leave," he said, his voice filled with urgency. "The light is not for you. It will consume you, as it has consumed me."
Finn shook his head, his mind racing. But there has to be a way to free you, to break the curse.
Callum's eyes softened again, and for the first time, Finn saw a glimmer of hope in them. "There may be a way," Callum said, his voice barely audible. "But it is a dangerous path, one that few have survived. You would be risking everything, including your soul."
Finn's heart pounded in his chest as he weighed his options. He had come this far and he couldn't turn back now. He had to try to do something to help Callum and the countless souls trapped by the light.
What do I have to do? Finn asked, his voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at him.
Callum hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Very well," he said. "But once you start down this path, there is no turning back. You must find the source of the light, the heart of the lighthouse, and extinguish it. Only then can the curse be broken."
Finn swallowed hard, his mouth dry. And where is the heart?
Callum's eyes darkened, and his voice dropped to a whisper. In the depths of the lighthouse, far below where any light can reach, it is a place of shadows and nightmares, where the light's true nature is revealed. You must descend into the darkness and confront what lies within.
Finn nodded, his resolve firm. I'll do it. I'll find the heart and put an end to this.
Callum placed a hand on Finn's shoulder, a gesture of both warning and encouragement. Be careful, Finn. The light is not just a force of good, it is a force of power, and power can corrupt even the purest of souls. Do not lose yourself in the darkness.
With those words, Callum turned and began to walk away, his figure fading into the shadows as he returned to his eternal vigil. Finn stood alone in the chamber, the golden flame flickering before him, its light casting strange, shifting shadows on the walls. Finn took a deep breath and steeled himself for what lay ahead. He knew that the journey would be perilous, that he would face dangers unlike any he had ever known. But he had made his choice, and there was no turning back now. With one last glance at the golden flame, Finn turned and made his way toward the stairs that led down into the depths of the lighthouse. The air grew colder with each step, and the light began to fade, replaced by an encroaching darkness that seemed to swallow everything in its path. As Finn descended into the darkness, he felt the weight of the lighthouse pressing down on him as if the very walls were closing in. The stairs seemed to go on forever, spiraling deeper and deeper into the heart of the lighthouse, where the light's true power awaited. And in the back of his mind, a voice whispered, a voice that was not his own.
It was the voice of the light, calling to him, urging him to go deeper, to embrace the darkness and the power that lay within.
Finn clenched his fists and pushed the voice aside, focusing on the task at hand. He had come too far to turn back now. He would find the heart of the lighthouse, and he would put an end to the curse, no matter the cost. The light at world's end burned brightly above, its golden rays cutting through the darkness of the night. But below, in the depths of the lighthouse, a new darkness was stirring, a darkness that threatened to consume everything in its path. And as Finn continued his descent, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that something was lurking in the shadows, waiting for him to falter. But Finn pressed on, driven by a determination that burned brighter than the light itself. He would not stop until the curse was broken and the lighthouse at World's End was free from the darkness that had plagued it for so long.